there's two things that I want to start off with. Number one, I usually have a difficult time doing this, especially when it comes to a brand new film that's only been out for about 48 hours, give or take. So I got to do my best to not do like spoilers and things like that. So work with me on this. I'm trying my best here. Now, the other thing I want to say is there was an old sitcom, there was an old show called Parker Lewis Can't Lose. Well, I want to alter that a little bit. You know who else can't lose, in my opinion? Parker Finn. Parker Finn, who directed two movies, both Smile films. He did not disappoint me at all with the first film, and he also definitely did not disappoint me with this film. I would say that this film is about the same as, if not slightly greater than, the first film. Now, the first film was a huge success for what it was, and it definitely grossed a number at the box office that was way higher than what I expected it to. Now, as we've talked before, the budget means the money that they put into making the film with the ads and paying the stars and all that stuff. The first film had a budget of $17 million. The box office, when all said and done, was just over $217 million. That was the first film, and that was shocking to me. That was amazing. So they probably surprised themselves, and they were like, yeah, we can do another film. Let's continue to, let's rake it in. Now, the second film here, again, it's only been out for 48 hours. So the second film had a budget of $28 million. And as it sits now, the box office is at about $46 million. So the movie came out Friday. I saw it Saturday night. And by that night, it had almost $9.5 million at the box office. And it went up over $36 million. So, and here we are, Sunday night, over $36 million plus. So that raises the question of, it begs the question of, is this movie going to be as successful financially as the first film, or better? I sure hope better, because if it does do better at the box office, that means that it's a potential green light for a third film, which, by the way, they've already teased the possibility of a third film, which means if they do that, we got to wait till 2026 or maybe even 2027 for that. But that's a whole different story for a whole nother day. Now, we already remember what the first film was about. Dr. Rose Cotter, she has this trauma going on because she witnessed a patient commit suicide because that patient had been possessed by the entity. Anybody who saw the movie knows what I'm talking about. Now the curse has passed on to her, and now she sees everybody smiling, that whole thing. So here's the second movie. Let me start off with the ratings. Metacritic gave it 66%. Come on, Metacritic, you can do a little better than that. Internet Movie Database gave it 72. Google users gave it 74 to 76. And Rotten Tomatoes actually was a little bit surprising for me. They had it at as high as 84%. Now, Common Sense Media gave it a 60. So I don't know why that is, that most movies and shows that I've talked about on here that had a rating from Common Sense Media, it usually is about 60%. I don't know why that is. That's just their automatic number. I don't know why that is. I don't even think it matters to them what show or movie they're talking about. It's just always 60% for them. So it could be eye candy, it could be Game of Thrones, or anything in between, whatever. By the way, I loved Eye Candy. That was a great show. So here's the deal with the second movie. About to embark on a new world tour, global pop sensation Sky Riley begins to experience increasingly terrifying and inexplicable events. Overwhelmed by the escalating horrors and pressures of fame, she must face her dark past to regain control of her life before it spirals out of control. Distributed by Paramount Pictures. So here's how ChatGPT breaks down the similarities and differences in the two films. So I see 5 similarities and I see 5 differences. Now, if I come across something that appears to be a spoiler alert, I'll stop in the middle of the sentence in case you wonder why I'm stopping in the middle of the sentence, because I don't want to spoil it for you. This is a really great film. I honestly give this movie about, I want to say this movie pretty much gets a perfect 10 for me. I want to say that. The first film I would for sure give no less than a 9.5. I'm just going to go with that for right now because it took me a while to kind of decide where I want to rate it at. But forget it. I mean, it's like, whatever, screw it. This movie gets a 10. And yes, I am eagerly awaiting a third film. Now, The similarities are genre and atmosphere. Both films are psychological horror with a focus on supernatural elements. The eerie and unsettling atmosphere remains a hallmark in both, using jump scares and disturbing imagery to build tension. They also have, central theme, trauma and curses. In both movies, the narrative revolves around a cursed individual who experiences strange, terrifying phenomena after a traumatic event. The concept of a deadly curse, often passed through a smile, is central to both stories. Both films feature protagonists who are isolated by their experiences. In the first film, Dr. Rose Cotter faces disbelief from others, which deepens her sense of isolation. This is similarly mirrored in Smile 2, where the new protagonist also struggles to be taken seriously by those around them. The creepy smiles, the mystery structure, both films follow a mystery-style narrative where the protagonist must uncover the origins of the curse and find a way to escape it, providing tension and a sense of impending doom. Now, here are the differences. Exploration of the curse. While the first film introduced audiences to the curse and its basic mechanics, the second film delves deeper into the origins and nature of the curse, providing more backstory and possibly expanding the lore. The sequel may explore different ways the curse affects its victims or introduce new rules. Tone and pacing is also a difference. The second film might have a slightly different tone, building on the success of the first film. Sequels often increase the intensity and scale of the horror, with more elaborate scares and a faster pace. Early reviews suggest Smile 2 may have even more psychological depth and horror compared to the original, which, by the way, they actually made a point about that in one of the other horror films, how the sequels do kind of intensify that. New setting and visuals. The second film could feature a broader range of settings, possibly taking the curse to new locations or scenarios that weren't explored in the first film. This would provide new visuals and a different backdrop for the horror. So in conclusion, according to ChatGPT, both films maintain the core elements of psychological horror and trauma, with the second film likely building on the foundation of the first. While they share the same curse and visual horror motifs, the second film is expected to provide deeper insights into the lore of the curse and amplify the horror with a fresh protagonist and new narrative directions. So, to all my people out here, all my horror fans, all my fellow fans of suspense, thriller, drama, all that stuff. First, if you didn't see the first film, you're missing out. I don't know what you were doing. You're missing out on the first film. The first film, in my opinion, was the second best horror film of 2022. The first being Scream 5, the third being Halloween Ends. And this one right here, I have to say, is, I know this is a bit biased, but this is the number one film of this year. The number one horror film, by the way. And like I said, it's about the same. And arguably, I was looking at the trailers, and here's one thing that I was kind of right about. When I saw the trailer for the second film, I said, this looks like it could be arguably better than the first film. And I was kind of right. In my opinion, it was just a little bit better, not by a whole landslide. I mean, we're not talking about going from Scream 3 to Scream 4 or going from the last Freddy movie to the remake or anything like that. No. This was really, really tight margin between the two. But again, once you watch both films, you'll have your own opinion, your own interpretation. Do you think the story should have gone in a different direction? I will say that again, I'm not trying to spoil it here. I'm not going to spoil it here, but let's just say that the endings for both movies were very similar. I think that first of all, the ending to the first movie was already trippy enough. And I thought to myself, I didn't think that she was going to do what she did. But when I look at the ending in the second movie, it was very similar, but it took place in a different setting in front of different people. I guess you could say a greater number of people. Hopefully that didn't spoil it. But I don't know why. I was looking at that movie and I said, how did I not guess that? That's why I like these type of movies, because they keep me guessing each step along the way. Now, if anybody who saw the first movie and knows the first movie and remembers it very well, you can tell that the second movie does provide both predictable as well as some unpredictable elements, because they had some stuff in there that kind of paralleled what was going on in the first movie. So, like I said, watch the movie for yourself. You judge. If you saw the movie, you tell me what you think. And I really can't wait for a third film. I know it's going to be a long time, but That's okay. It gives me plenty of time to catch up on a lot of other things in between. I already have thousands of shows and movies to catch up on, so it's time will tell as far as is that going to happen. So, like and subscribe. Again, give me suggestions for movies and shows you think I should check out so I can talk about it on here. Give me your take on the movies that I talk about on here. Stay tuned. Subscribe.